Contents. Introduction. Goals of psychological inquiry includes steps in conducting scientific research, alternative paradigms of research, nature of psychological data, some important methods in psychology, observational method, example of an experiment in box 2.1, experimental method, correlation research, survey research, example of survey method in box 2.2, psychological testing, case study, analysis of data, quantitative method, qualitative method. Limitations of psychological inquiry, ethical issues. What are the key terms? Summary, preview questions, project ideas, review questions, project ideas. An idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that exists only as an idea, said by Gautam Buddha. Introduction. You have read in the first chapter that psychology is the study of experiences, behaviors, and mental processes. You may now be curious to know how psychologists study these phenomena. In other words, what methods are used to study behavior and mental processes. Like all scientists, psychologists seek to describe, predict, and explain, and control what they study. For this, psychologists rely on formal, systematic observations to address their questions. It is the methodology that makes psychology a scientific endeavor. Psychologists use a variety of research methods because questions about human behavior are numerous, and all of them cannot be studied by a single method. Methods such as observation, experimental, correlational research, survey, psychological testing, and case study are more frequently used to study the problems of psychology. This chapter will familiarize you with the goals of psychological inquiry, the nature of information or data that we collect in psychological studies, the diverse range of methodological devices available for the study of psychology, and some important issues related to psychological studies. Goals of psychological inquiry. Let's begin this. Like any scientific research, psychological inquiry has the following goals, that is 1. Description, 2. Prediction, 3. Explanation, and 4. Control of behavior, and 5. Application of knowledge so generated in an objective manner. Let us try to understand the meaning of these terms, that is description, second one prediction, third one explanation, fourth one control, fifth one is application. 1. Description. In a psychological study, we attempt to describe a behavior or a phenomenon as accurately as possible. This helps in distinguishing a particular behavior from other behaviors. For example, the research may be interested in observing study habits among students. Study habits may consist of diverse range of behaviors such as attending all your classes regularly, submitting assignments on time, planning your study schedule, studying according to set schedule, revising your work on a daily basis, etc. Within a particular category, there may be further minute descriptions. The researcher needs to describe her or his meaning of study habits. The researcher needs to describe her or his meaning of study habits. The description requires recording of a particular behavior which helps in its proper understanding. 2. Prediction. The second goal of scientific inquiry is prediction of behavior. If you are able to understand and describe the behavior accurately, you come to know the relationship of a particular behavior with other types of behaviors, events, or phenomena. That means if you predict the behavior accurately, you can know the relationship of a particular behavior what you have predicted with other types of behaviors, events, or phenomena. You can then forecast that under certain conditions this particular behavior may occur within a certain margin of error. You can then forecast that under certain conditions this particular behavior may occur within a certain margin of error. For example, on the basis of study, a researcher is able to establish a positive relationship between the amount of study time and achievement in different subjects. Later, if you come to know that a particular child devotes more time for study, you can predict that the child is likely to get good marks in the examination. Prediction becomes more accurate with the increase in number of persons observed. Note, the prediction becomes more accurate if the number of persons observed is increased. Prediction becomes more accurate with the increase in the number of persons observed. If it includes more subjects into the study, the prediction will be more accurate. Explanation. The third goal of psychological inquiry is to know the causal factors or determinants of behavior. Psychologists are primarily interested in knowing the factors that make behavior occur. Psychologists are primarily interested in knowing the factors, that is, causative factors or determinants that make behavior occur. Also, what are the conditions under which a particular behavior does not occur? What are the conditions under which a particular behavior does not occur? For example, what makes some children more attentive in the class? This is the question. Now, answer to this is the explanation to the behavior. Why some children devote less time for study as compared to others. Thus, the goal is concerned with identifying the determinants or causal factors, determinants or antecedent conditions, that is, conditions that led to the particular behavior of the behavior being studied. So that cause effect relationship between the two variables, that is objects or events, could be established. By explanation you can establish the cause and effect. What is the cause for that effect you can explain, you can come to know. Control. 4 is control. If you are able to explain why a particular behavior occurs, right, you have no cause of that particular behavior. Now you know what is that type of behavior. Now you know in how this particular behavior behaves in different situations. You come to know by prediction. Now comes to the control. If you are able to explain why a particular behavior occurs, you can control that behavior by making changes in its antecedent conditions. The antecedent conditions, by making changes in its antecedent conditions, that is, determinants or causal factors. Changes in its determinants, changes in its causal factors, right? Control refers to three things: making a particular behavior happen, reducing it, or enhancing it. For example, control refers to the three things: making a particular behavior, enhance it, or reducing it. For example, you can allow the number of hours. For example, you can allow the number of hours devoted to the study to be the same, or you can reduce them, or they may be or there may be an increase in the study hours. The change brought about in behavior by psychological treatment in terms of therapy in persons is a good example of control. The change brought about in behavior by psychological treatment in terms of therapy in persons is a good example of control. By control, what you can do, you can control, it has three possibilities. You can make a particular behavior, or you can increase, you can enhance that particular behavior, or you can reduce that particular behavior. By control, how you do it? By changing in antecedental conditions. Now, fifth goal is application. The final goal of the scientific inquiry is to bring out positive changes in the lives of people. Psychological research is conducted to solve problems in various settings. Because of these efforts, the quality of life of people is a major concern of psychologists. For example, applications of yoga and meditation help to reduce stress and increase efficiency. Scientific inquiry is also conducted to develop new theories or constructs, which leads to further research. Now, what are the steps in conducting scientific research? This You can see what are the steps in conducting scientific inquiries. 1. Conceptualizing a problem. 2. Collecting data. 3. Drawing conclusions. 4. Revising research conclusions. Again, conceptualizing a problem. This is the cyclic process. Which one is a cyclic process? The conducting a scientific research is a cyclic process. This is how it runs, right? Thank you for now.